I'm curious, like, you don't do too many long form interviews. What made you want to do Call Her Daddy today?
Well, I think you and your listeners have really got this thing right, which is one of the best ways to communicate with people is to be real, and to talk about the things that people really care about.
Does that include caring about this?
Is it a deal breaker for you if a guy is not good at, like, eating you out?
They put the tongue very hard, and they go like, and it's like you go like,
Right.
oh my God, I don't like that.
Yes, this is the podcast that Kamala Harris just decided to spend time going on 1 month away from the election. This type of podcast. It's called Call Her Daddy. It's a very sexual podcast. Women talk about a bunch of sex stories, ideas, preferences, and this is what she decided to go on in order to get support. It's SeanDaniel here. If you guys enjoy the videos, feel free to subscribe, but we're going to go into some more election stuff as the days keep going. And right here, I like this one because it shows the raunchiness and the ridiculousness of Kamala Harris's campaign, what she's willing to take part in and what she's not willing to take part in. Why is that? Why do I say that? Because if you look at the other lists of this podcast's topics or episodes, the topics of their episodes, right? We're going to see right here that 2 episodes ago, from a couple days ago, it was about Heather McMahon, about blowjobs, hall passes, and frat daddies. Okay? It's about cheating 101 right here. Excuse me. This is the great type of quality podcast that Kamala Harris is deciding to go on in order to bring more support for herself. Now, in these clips that we're going to see, she talks about a lot of different things. She talks about abortion, how victimized women are, and we're going to go through the clips and show you one by one what she said and really how bad of a look it is, and how people are not buying it. Now, not only are people not buying it, and as you would think normally because of what this podcast is about, but if you just look at the likes to dislike ratio right here, which I have activated through a plugin, it's pretty obvious. Most people are like, what the hell is this? And if you go to multiple other podcasts that Kamala Harris has done, like this one with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes about sports, look at the like to dislike. People see through her BS and see how fake she is, right? But not only, we're going to go through the comments later, because it is true, like this person said, not one good comment. This is nuts. It's very true, because people see through the BS. But it's interesting that Kamala Harris will be willing to go on this type of a raunchy podcast, but she will not go on Big Bad Fox News to face the enemy in a way. Yet Trump, on the other hand, has gone on CNN, and he hosted a town hall with CNN, and this is a little glimpse of what happened. This is what Kamala Harris is not willing to do and is not going to have great campaign moments because of.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's the answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to, you're a nasty person. I'll tell you.
Well, it's so true, so true.
Answer why you held on to the documents.
I was negotiating and we were talking to NARA.
See, Kamala Harris can't have these real gotcha moments where she shows she stood up to her opposition and really destroyed them, quote unquote, because she won't go on Fox News. Now, this is not the greatest that she will go on this type of a podcast where they talk about blowjobs, they talk about oral sex, all this stuff, they talk about cheating. It's a ridiculous, low-level morality show that's really just based around sexual fornication, wild physical fantasies, lusts, and that's really the basis of the show. How disgusting, how wild can they be, as many things in today's age. But people also might say, well, hey, Trump went on the Full Send podcast, right, with the Nelk boys, and they have talked about, screwing a lot of women, messing around, sometimes getting so lit in party. So yes, that is very true. Trump went on a young person's podcast where they don't really necessarily share the most quality things, especially by their lifestyle. So for all the people that are complaining that that Kamala Harris went on Call Her Daddy, but they're still not freaking out that Trump went on the Nelk Boys, the Full Send podcast, where these guys really live not the greatest life. That's one point. Now let's get to the clips, which Kamala HQ Twitter page has shared a ton of. On YouTube, there's only this 7-minute clip, which it just basically talks about abortion. And we're going to go through all the different clips on Twitter right here. Let's start from the beginning. The first one that they shared, of course, had to be about abortion. But I want to start with this other one right here. I know the resolution is crap. Twitter does this. Here you go.
And I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election revolves around a woman's body.
Yep.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision
I know what you're going to ask.
about a man's body? Let's
No.
just pause.
No.
Is there
This is a planted question, just so you know. I mean, I'm sure the teams of Kamala Harris and Trump, they review questions and topics before they go on shows. They get with that show's team and say, hey, this is what we can discuss, this is what we can't discuss. But this is obviously a planted question because it is based off of an old clip of Kamala Harris where she was barraging Brett Kavanaugh at his hearing when he was trying to become a Supreme Court justice.
Of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question, but
Male versus female?
there are medical procedures.
Okay. That the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body?
I thought you were asking about medical procedures
No,
that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now.
That was a question that she was barraging him about back in, I believe it was 2018. Funny thing, I was in D.C. at that time when that trial was going on. That was wild. And this is like her gotcha moment. It had to be pushed by Kamala's team to have this lady ask the question. But one of the great answers that many people on Twitter were sharing is, yes, there is something that controls a man's body, okay? Maybe not health-wise, a health decision, but technically it is. And that is the military draft. Men can get drafted, sent to war, really against their own will and desire. So therefore that answer kind of combats what she's trying to say. But let's see how she explains this, because her whole stance through going on this Call Her Daddy podcast, it seems to be, is to push the pro-woman, push the I'm the party to give you reproductive freedom and opportunity to have abortions, which makes sense in a way. A lot of conservatives are trying to freak out that I've seen online and push this thing like, oh my God, can't believe she's doing that. Well, when you have some Republican states banning abortions, not allowing people to have the freedom to choose what they do if they get pregnant, you really, in a way, can't blame her team. Now, a lot of the conservatives on Twitter want to go crazy, but when you don't allow people to have the freedom, because everyone says it's killing babies, oh my God, which is totally wrong when you look at the Word and the Bible. It doesn't even make any sense that someone's alive when they're in the womb. But you guys can disagree with me. I'm sure most of you will. Many conservatives do. But you can't blame her for going on this platform, really. Now, it's not based on the strategy of trying to promote herself as the reproductive rights person. But we'll see later, Trump is not anti-abortion, though.
any law?
No. No.
Here we go.
Look,
how hard we have it as women.
We
Here we
are
go.
a work in progress. But here's one of the many things I so love about our country. Part of the strength of our country and our evolution as a country has been through the fight for the expansion of rights.
That's true.
Not the restriction of rights, but the expansion of rights. And we still have work to do. But I say that that work is born out of love of country. And it's hard work, but it's good work, and it's important work. And that's what's before each of us. And I think that, you know, around election time, but every day, back to the conversation that we've been having about power. The beauty of a democracy is that we each as individuals have the power to weigh in on this stuff.
Okay, that's true. We have great freedom of speech. Do we have power to change things when illegals are being allowed to come in the country and possibly vote? Maybe our power is being diminished if that's the case. Now we're going to see how she tries to attack Trump and corner him in this thing of being anti-abortion, which is not true.
I do want to reference something I saw was at a rally in Pennsylvania. Former President Trump recently told women, "You will be protected and I will be your protector." What do you make of that?
So he who, when he was president, hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did just as he intended. And there are now 20 states with Trump abortion bans, including bans that make no exception for rape or incest, which we just discussed, which means that you're telling a survivor of a crime, of a violation to their body, they don't have a right to make a decision about what happens to their body next, which is immoral. So this is the same guy that is now saying that. This is the same guy who said that women should be punished for having abortions. This is the same guy who uses the kind of language he does to describe women. So, yeah, there you go.
Okay, the language to describe women thing is ridiculous. He's playful, he's fun. Real women can take that. She's just being a little baby because she's a liberal wah-wah, you know? But we can't really trust what she's saying because it's been proven and shown, even by her buddies at CNN, that Trump says abortion legislation should be left to the states. Now, he's, in a way, played a role in Roe v. Wade getting axed so that not every state has access to it, abortions. And in a way, I understand and I see that it's pretty ridiculous that so many states have banned abortion where you cannot even get it no matter what happens. Like Texas, total abortion ban in Alabama. There's many states that have totally banned it. So if you want to get an abortion in one of these states, you have to go outside the state lines to get it, from what I understand. Now, some of the states, I believe it's California and New York, and I'm sure one of these other super liberal ones, like Washington. It's funny, the ones with no ban at all are the super liberal ones, and like the ones in California, there's really no restriction on abortions. But Trump is not Mr. Anti-abortion. Now, maybe he's shared some sentiments to get in line with the conservative ideology that's been spread throughout America now by abortions being murder and killing babies and all this stuff. But in a way, it's really not that crazy for Kamala Harris to go on this podcast show and share and try to corner in on her being the person in favor of reproductive rights, which J.D. Vance and Trump have shared that they're not anti-abortion. They give options. They just want it to happen in the right, safe way where you can't abort a baby in the last 8-9 months. But in a way, it's a smart move by Kamala Harris's campaign. All the conservatives are trying to twist it into say that it's really dumb, it's bad. Yes, okay, for her to associate with such a vile and degraded podcast that decides to talk about a guide to oral sex and break it all down and types of sex that they want to have, experiences with this and that. That's a pretty bad presidential look, and it shows you just how desperate Kamala Harris campaign is to get connection with voters, which even on this video with Call Her Daddy is not working. 4,932 comments. It's literally just everybody roasting her with, double the amount of dislikes as there are likes. And even her attempt to get with the black culture and go on a podcast with Steven Jackson, an ex-NBA player, and Matt Barnes, the same. It's backfired as well. 54,000 dislikes to 24,000 likes. And the amount of comments in here where people are frustrated, calling her out on her BS, pointing out how 30 seconds in and Steven Jackson, one of the hosts, is already burdened by what has been. He's not even enjoying it. They're seeing through her BS. They're seeing through her little tactics. And even though it's kind of an interesting tactic to try to go on this podcast to position herself as the pro-reproductive rights person, it's not the right podcast to do that with, due to just how degraded of a level that podcast is and what they discuss. And thankfully it's not working, because we see through it. So many people see through it. And I do not understand how we're supposed to think that this is going to be a close race when almost all the content I see online has negative comments towards Kamala Harris. You go to podcasts she's jumping on, and she's getting obliterated in the comments. Just like in 2020 when we didn't see Joe Biden have big crowds, and they said because of COVID, but then he was the most popular president ever. Come on. We know what's up, and hopefully Trump can defeat her in November. It's EtsSeanDaniel here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.